My name is Gary Butterfield.
My name is Cole Ross.
And you're listening to Best Quality Vacuum, the Duckfeed show covering Breaking Bad, El Camino, and Better Call Saul.
Yeah, and this week we're talking about Open House, which is an episode that was directed by David Slade and written by Sam Catlin, and it originally aired on July 31st, 2011.
We're in the good zone. This is a good stretch of episodes in season 4. I will say this is where they're getting annoying to me with the double meaning titles.
A little bit, yeah.
Everything having just like, isn't that clever? Yeah. It's starting to frustrate me. Mostly because it makes people on the wiki feel really good about pointing them out.
I don't need them to
feel
good.
I don't like that. Yeah, I don't care for that. If you notice these very obvious things, that's the minimum.
Yeah.
Not to try to make anyone in particular feel bad, but it's not that deep.
No.
You see, it's an open house for multiple reasons.
On the next episode, it's like, this possibly has a triple meaning, and the third one is nothing. Yeah.
It's not just because of the wiki, it's also just the writers being like,
yeah.
And they didn't used to do that.
Nope.
You know, they every once in a while they would do that, but the titles were not like that for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Bit by a Dead Bee is about a thing.
Yeah.
It's not just like, what little double meanings can we come up with?
Yeah.
But good episodes. This episode and the next episode we're talking about are really good.
Yeah.
I'm very excited to get to the stretch of the season. The chess between Gus and Walt is very good.
Yeah. This episode actually raised my appraisal. I remember being a little bit let down when I first saw this, but no, this is good.
It's good.
Yeah.
There's a couple parts of it that feel slightly like place setty, of course. And that's part of the rhythm of the show, as you put things in place. But the biggest glow up for me in this watch from previous watches is how much more I'm appreciating the Hank and Marie stuff. Like I always liked it. But this time around I am appreciating it more.
Yes.
Like I'm seeing a lot more nuance and depth into it. I'm really, really enjoying how all that plays out.
Yeah.
And that is to me, the strength of this episode.
Yes.
The big plus.
Yeah.
Generally Walt and Skyler close the deal on the car wash. Saul helps out. Jesse, tries to reach out to Walt for some companionship, but sinks further in depression. Jesse is still punished Jesse. Yeah. But the main thing is Marie. This is a Marie episode. This is Betsy Bryant's favorite episode of the show, unsurprisingly.
Yeah,
because she gets the most to do.
Yeah, it's a Marie focus episode, and for as much as we clowned on the kleptomania arcs in the first season, this is a good payoff for that. I feel like they took something that was annoying and actually gave it a little bit of an emotional core here.
Yeah, it needed to be something she would go back to.
Yes.
Right? Like she needed something to backslide into. The way that it was framed early on in season 1, I felt like it did not feel like it was going somewhere. And the way it's used here, it could be almost anything.
Yeah.
Like it couldn't be like her torching homeless people.
Probably not.
It could be something like that intense, but she could have backslid into a lot of different things. And it would have had a very similar effect.
Yeah.
To this. But this is making lemonade out of lemons.
Yes.
Like this is their way of, I can't remember what they call it, but like tossing plots into the future, like creating details and then being able to do these call forwards.
Yes.
Like this, like going back to old details and using them.
And how she does this, she's going to open houses and pretending to have a different life while taking small objects for herself.
Yeah, so many Alpine Shepherd boys getting stolen when Maria's on the loose. But her fantasizing about just this other world is just heartbreaking.
Oh, yeah.
Like, really great performance from Betsy Bryant, who I think isn't always given tons to do.
No. And just everybody on the show generally seems to be really good. Maybe it's because she was the actress who was most often on the podcasts when I listened to them.
Yes.
But Betsy Bryant seems just really nice and
delightful.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah, she's delightful.
Yeah.
Delightful lady. So a character episode to set up for next episode, which is ends with a cliffhanger and is starting to get into some inciting action.
Yes.
Kind of stuff. Here.
Some stuff. We're introduced to a minor character that I have a good deal of affection for. Patrick Kuby. We got Kuby in the mix.
Huel's buddy.
Yeah.
Another one of Saul's scumbags.
Played by Bill Burr. I've come, I expressed some trepidation about embracing Bill Burr. Kind of generally, I've appreciated his comedy in the past, but he shows up on some really shitty podcasts. People made their case, and I've come around. I can actually say, like, yeah, Bill Burr's probably on the side of good, primarily because I just saw him absolutely dismantle Bill Maher about Gaza.
I think he has some good opinions about stuff. My dude is terminally fat phobic.
Yeah.
Every time I've seen a comedy routine from him, it is 90% making fun of people in public for being fat.
Yeah, that's
like,
too bad.
He did a thing about the Mario ride at Universal Studios. And I watched that because it's like, I just went on that thing. Yeah. I want to see somebody do a comedy routine about that. Ugh. And he's talking about how long the line is and stuff. And there's funny observations in it, but it's mostly just making like fun of how much heavier everyone is around him. And I was like, what decade is this, man?
Yeah, that sucks.
I'm sure he's got some good ideas and stuff, but he's from an old school kind of mentality where like there's some real punching down, and it's not like I don't get, I'm a man of carriage. I don't have my feelings hurt by that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that defensively. I just don't, Bill Burr can't hurt me. I don't know him. It's just not funny.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing to the joke. It's just him being like, yeah, they're like, rah, 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 they're all fat. And I'm like, man, what?
That's not,
yeah. Do work harder.
Please try harder. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, so I think he has good opinions about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I think that he has this one weird tick that he will not give up.
Yeah.
Like, and that was last year, I think. This isn't like old Bill Burr.
No.
This is modern Bill Burr still doing that.
Yeah, that's too bad.
Not trying to be like, you're wrong for liking him. We all have problematic faves.
Yeah. I think he's good in this role. Too.
Yeah. He does a great job in this.
Yeah.
The story of him getting it's cute.
Yes.
Just a real big fan. End up like, talking to his agent. He went to the production office to meet with the staff and just be like, I want a role no matter how minor it is. I'd love to be part of this thing I really love. And that's very charming.
Yeah. The story about his, the party would have had in Better Call Saul is kind of sad. We'll talk about it.
What is that?
We'll talk about it when we get there, but just they were going to bring him in. So when Sobchak comes back, the Stephen Ogg, Trevor Phillips character guy.
Yeah.
When he comes back in the later seasons, that was supposed to be Bill Burr's role, but he could not. He couldn't do it because he had a loved one who was in the process of dying, and just like as much as I would love to do this would be great. Bill Burr he feels like he owes his acting career to Breaking Bad, and just like, no, can't do it. Got to be there for this person. So it's sad and unfortunate.
Yeah. Right choice.
Yep. Yeah. There's a memorable scene in this episode with Jesse taking the saddest go-kart ride in the history of the world. This was thrown in. It kind of seems like a non sequitur. I like the effect that it creates between him and Walt, this rejection, but this is pulled from Aaron Paul's real life. Aaron Paul would frequently take the crew go-karting at this particular go-kart place, and they're like, well, why don't we just do that in the show?
There's something very sinister and sad about go-karting alone. Like it isn't. It's exceedingly unwholesome. Like, it's still fun. The physicality of it is fun, but like, it's just a group activity. And this place doesn't look like anyone's even working there. It looks like he broke in to do night carts. It's very bleak, and it's created a lot of very funny gifs.
Oh yes,
you can find. Let's get into it. We have a brief cold open here. Walt gets access. He gets a key again, so he's allowed to let in, grabs his coffee, but he hears this whirring sound and starts kind of looking around to find it. And it turns out there's a security camera in the lab. This cannot be, this disrespect. He is unaccepting of the fact that the situation has changed.
Yes.
He should still be respected as a professional.
So as a professional, he walks over and flips the camera off. This escalation, kind of the beginnings, not the beginnings, but a continuation of these chess games that they're playing.
Yes. Yeah. Flipping the bird there. Skylar wants this car wash so goddamn bad.
Yep.
If there's one thing about this plot line that feels weird to me, it's like Skylar gets a bunch of gas moments that are good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm not saying that derisively. Like, I like her getting one over on Bogdan very much. Mm-hmm. Her being this focused on the car wash in these couple episodes seems crazy to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's been 2 days.
Yeah.
It's 2 days. I don't have a car wash. Give me the goddamn car wash. My wife keeps asking about the car wash monies. I must be remaining insistent about the car wash monies. So she's at the condo. She's ringing the bell. She calls his cell phone and hears it ringing from inside. It's like, ha! You know,
gotcha.
I got you. She's furious about this car wash.
Mm-hmm. Because Walt's ducking her. He doesn't want to do this. He's worrying about different things, right?
Yeah. And fair. Right? Like, his boss is going to kill him. He just got socked by his coworker.
Yeah.
Like, fair.
Yes. He comes to the door, but he doesn't open it all the way. He's hiding his face, but Skylar, peers around it and sees, like, oh, he's got a black eye. And she forces her way in. Like, okay, you're in danger. Like, or I need to ask you, like, what's going on? And Walt loses his temper at her. Just to, like, saying, like, this is a huge invasion. Like, why are you being passive aggressive about this? And Skylar, takes a beat and says, just like, okay, well, we can go to the authorities.
Yeah. Then we have to go to the police.
Yeah.
And he diffuses it by minimizing what happened.
Yeah.
He's like, I just got into an argument with a coworker discussing a business strategy. Things are better now. We've cleared the air. All these things. Yeah. And I didn't retaliate because he's a much older man. and she's like, oh, you got into a bar fight. And he's like, yes, I got into a bar fight.
It's one way to put it.
Yeah.
So, he mutters about it saying, hey, it's a good thing, just we know where we're standing here. And Skylar's going into problem solving mode. Just like, okay, we got to get you some frozen peas. No frozen peas. No ice even.
I love that she acts like it's a really big deal not to have frozen peas. Again, just like a very specific grocery item, like, no frozen peas. Like, your life is a complete fuck up. You don't own frozen peas. She makes some promise. If things get too dangerous, you'll go to the authorities.
Yeah. Which is never going to happen.
No.
Cut over to Marie. She's at this open house at a real fancy place. I like this. The sequence begins with a real close up on this Hummel figurine, sitting on a coffee table in the foreground. And Marie's there, drinking the wine. And you can see her scoping out the figurine off camera. And the realtor asks, so who are you? What are you looking for?
I love this realtor.
Yeah.
This like Texas oil baron cartoon with his bolo tie.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Oh, man. Desert
I can
people.
certainly help you with that wine. Like, this guy's great.
Desert people. And this is where she gives a fake name, saying, oh, I'm divorced. I have a 4-year-old child named Eli. And just like, are the schools here really good? I'm thinking about homeschooling, just not for religious reasons, but just because you want to, make sure they get ahead. Also, does the guest house have plumbing? Because I work with clay. My studio is going to be out there. Just inhabiting bodily this fantasy for a little bit by lying to a stranger in an inconsequential way, right?
Yeah, improving. Like, it's not harmless. It is inconsequential in terms of, like, nothing's going to happen to this realtor.
Yeah.
It is something that is comorbid with thieving.
Yeah.
And it's thieving. One of the things I like about the stealing in this is that it's just magpie behavior. Mm-hmm. We're going to find out later the thing she's stealing could have no possible value to her. Mm-hmm. This is her sublimating her feelings, like some kind of weird power play. Mm-hmm. Doing this, like the English major, she's taking a part of these lives she's envious of.
Yes. Yeah.
Like, she goes to the house, she pitches this life that she'd rather have than her own. Mm-hmm. And then she takes a token of it. Yeah. They have like a totem.
Yeah. She has a trophy.
Yeah. Like a serial killer. And when they introduced the serial killing plot in season 1, it didn't feel like it was going anywhere. But now that she's back to harvesting eyes, like, it just makes a lot of sense. It was a good character beat for Betsy Bryant. A lot of room to grow in terms of eye slicing. Yeah.
Oh gosh, huge numbers of eye jars. Yeah.
They're called capsules, Hank. Jesus Christ.
Oh, good Lord. Speaking of Hank, he's in the bedroom watching some softcore.
Yeah.
Some real Skinamax kind of stuff. And Marie gets home, turns it on. He panics and turns it off with his grabber, right?
Yeah. She is being a good wife. She bought him the beer he likes, the junk food he likes, and a special treat, a fantasy football magazine. And Hank is furious because she got Fritos instead of Cheetos, and just real mean, Frito, not Cheeto. How can you hear those differently?
How hard can it be?
Like, they rhyme, and he's like, where are you going? And she's like, I guess back to the store, and then he yells out the magazine, the draft's not for 2 months. So this is useless. The idea of like somebody getting you a magazine when you're down it's one of the nicest things someone can do, even if it sucks.
Oh God. Yeah. Yeah.
Like I remember when I was young, a nice thing my mom did for me when I was sick once is got me a magazine because it had REM on the cover. And I was really excited, but it was a guitar player magazine. So it's just full of tab. So like if I knew how to play guitar, it would have taught me how to play Maps and Legends, which is real cool.
Yeah.
But I don't know how to play guitar and still don't. But it was still like, I wasn't like, this is useless. I play keyboard. I wasn't like that. About this.
It is one of the nicest things somebody can do for you. Accept the gesture, Hank. But it's not about the magazine, right?
No, Hank's in a bad way.
Yes.
And the camera tilts. We see that she has stolen the Hummel.
Yeah.
So she is Hummel pilled. Jesse and Walt are wrapping up for the day, and I like this whole scene a lot.
Oh yeah.
Walt's complaining about the cameras, and Jesse goes, you thought it was bugged before, like now we know.
Yeah.
Again, shadowing that conversation they had in the Denny's. Jesse is into this where nobody's pretending.
Yeah.
Like he's not looking to play chess with this.
Yeah.
And then, he's like, hey, do you want to do something? I don't know, maybe go-karts. Walt refuses, here. And you've got this, this is very sad, but I think that there's some warmth in the scene. Walt says, no, like I have kind of a meeting, rain check. And then Walt notices like Jesse's not doing all right.
Yeah.
Like he's insightful a little bit. Like he's like, hey, you doing okay? Like, is there anything we should talk about? And then Jesse counters, how's your eye? Is there anything we should talk about? Like, you can't, I'm looking to sublimate. I'm not actually looking to talk.
Yeah.
Like I don't think Jesse wanted to go to the go-kart track to bare his heart.
No.
I think he's just realized how weird it is to go to a go-kart alone.
Yeah. I just this feels very the kid asking their dad can we go karting this weekend kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then being told no. Like just the reaching out for any kind of companionship. Like I see something peeking out of Jesse here that like, well, I don't want to go home because I've made home this terrible reflection of my inner states. Like here's a Hail Mary. And to have that rejected for no, I feel sad. Poor Jesse, right?
I feel bad for Jesse too. I think that this wouldn't have fixed it.
No, no.
I don't think, and I feel like Walt is not being callous here.
Okay.
Walt is just like personally.
Oh, yeah.
He's got to go do the meeting with Saul and Skylar. Can you imagine if he turned down Skylar's car wash thing? Like at this point, Skylar would have lost her fucking mind and gone on she would have bought every car wash in town. If he had canceled this meeting.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's just he does have a meeting. We cut to it after this.
This is also Jesse. Like he's not living in the situation. Like his headspace around this is just not go-karting is not what you do right now. But also he's kind of asking Walt to be a different person than he is a little bit. Like, just
kind of.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that if he had been like, I don't know. I'd be curious about it because I think when Walt like notices like, hey, something's wrong. Should we talk? He's not being like gamesmanship.
No.
Later in he's going to be tactical about it in the next episode, but this episode he's not being tactical. I think if Jesse had just been like, hey, can we get together and talk sometime? I bet you Walt would have said yes.
Yeah. When I say asking him to be a different person than he is, I'm speaking specifically about go-karts. right?
Yeah.
Like that is a frivolous fun time activity. That is not.
It's not something Walt's going to do,
right? Yeah.
It's, and like, wherefore is Badger? I feel like Badger is probably go-karting most of the time.
Yeah, Badger is DTK, right?
Yeah, absolutely DTK.
Yeah. But
24/7, 365.
Badger's using again, like it's if he's avoiding going home, Badger is a part of that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. And then I like this, again, this little moment of kindness here. Jesse says, for what it's worth, getting the shit kicked out of you, not to say you're used to it, but you do kind of get used to it. It's happened to him a lot.
Yeah.
On the show.
And now Walt's finally got a little taste of it. Yeah.
Yeah. We go to the meeting. Here, Saul is giving the nail salon pitch. This is better. And Skylar insists it has to be the car wash. Why? It just does. I want the car wash.
Yep.
Saul points out, like, well, you already botched that negotiation. You started at $800,000 and he, moved it to 2 million or 20 million.
20 million, yeah.
20 million. And this is when Huel comes in, knocking on the door.
Sheepishly, you just see him knocking on the door. Like, I gotta use the bathroom, like, very quietly.
There's a joke about this that I kind of don't like, which is this is set up to give Skylar a one-up on Saul because he's talking about professionalism. And it's meant to be unprofessional that Huel had to use the bathroom.
Yeah.
Here. There's nothing wrong with having to use the bathroom.
No.
And it's not quite a fat joke, but it's kind of like it's a landslide.
Yeah.
he isn't inhabiting landslide during this. He's going to go make a big juicy dump.
Yeah.
It's a stomach thing.
I think it is funny that Saul says it's a stomach thing. Like that is going to be reassuring about no, I assure you, he's going to destroy this.
Don't worry, it's not normal. Yeah, he's not pissing. Like
it's got nothing to do with piss.
Yeah, piss will happen incidentally. Don't you worry. And it's and so I was like, where are we at? Professionalism? It's not unprofessional that your guy needs to use the bathroom. Like that's mean. And mean to Huel for no reason. Yeah. Huel's great.
Yeah.
So Skylar at this point starts pushing the issue. Bogdan just doesn't have proper motivation. He's going to need an attitude adjustment. And Saul's like, oh, are we talking about the same thing? Like let's get some knuckles and beat him up.
He's like, oh, I like her. Like she's here to play, right? This isn't just a transaction now. This is what Saul is good at, which is, some manner of fraud, right?
Yes.
Like, all right. Yep. So he says, okay, audit him. Just to have somebody come in, ruin his business by getting the feds on them. And Skylar says, no, we don't want to have any attention because when he sells it, they might start looking into who he sold it to. Can't do it.
Yeah, makes sense. He throws out an ICE raid. This terrorism angle, like, oh, Agent Hoover, I've seen some real Islamic comings and goings at the car wash. It's very funny.
Yeah.
Walt pipes in, Saul, Bogdan is Romanian. I love how Walt is just humoring this entire thing for the first half of this. And then when he switches on, he's so tired during this.
He's completely disengaged until Skylar very cannily plays his ego about it.
Yeah, it's real good. He settles on violence and Skylar's like, no, we don't need to do that. And he's like, well, I'm waiting for ideas. Like you're just shooting things down. And Walt says, do I have to state the obvious? Why does it have to be Bogdan's car wash? And there's so many car washes in town.
Yeah. Do you know how dusty Albuquerque is? People need their cars washed. Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
And Skylar's like, no, it has to be his.
Yeah.
Like, why? It just does. He was rude to me. And he was rude about you. And Saul's like, I like a passionate woman, but the number one rule in this business is don't take things personally. Walt can back me up, but Walt is keyed in on the fact that he was rude about him.
And Walt only ever takes things personally.
Yes. That is one of Walt's big flaws here.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, well, what do you say? He's like, oh, he questioned your manhood, how you had to, send your wife in to talk to him, to make the deal because he couldn't face him. Right.
Yeah.
This is it's very funny. It is, candy manipulation on Skylar's part, but also I don't know. The way that this is acted is very good. Just how quickly Walt gets engaged and comes around to, all right, nope, we got to make this happen.
Yeah. It's cute when they're unified.
Yes.
And Dark Skylar is good.
Yes.
Corrupted Skylar is good in the show, I think. Like, she never gets, I'm not a Skylar hater. She never gets, like, bad.
Right.
Like Walt is. But she definitely gets complicit in a lot of stuff.
Yes.
Like, obviously.
Yeah.
Skylar sees what's happening.
Or Saul.
He tries
to,
or Saul rather, and tries to, cut it off. But, no, it's this is the one. Says. So Saul says, okay, we can't do anything with the IRS or ICE or violence. What the hell do we do? Yeah. And then Huel flushes the toilet because big man take diarrhea dump.
Big man, big poop. Lol.
Yeah, big poop cut.
Yeah.
From this. Yeah.
Marie's at another open house, admiring a souvenir spoon collection. The people who own the house had gone to every state and gotten a little collector's spoon from it. Real dorky thing to do, but they've got it in a little display case.
Not as dorky as pointing out that Puerto Rico is in a state and then saying maybe they were just hoping someday it would be.
Maybe they were optimistic.
Maybe they're optimistic. Yeah. That's dorkier.
Yeah.
And this, I like this scene. I like this realtor a lot. Again, she starts going into her story and stuff, and the realtor is a little bit sick of her shit, kind of already.
Yeah.
From the beginning of it, because it feels like she's stalling. Like, it feels like she's like distracting her for a shadow run that's going on in the background. Just nonstop, parade of nonsense details and inane questions.
Yeah. Saying, I convinced my husband to quit NASA because it was too high stress. And also I had my hand modeling career. Yeah. It's getting more and more outlandish.
Oh no. Does that make me terrible? Just like very playing it up.
Yeah. Yeah. She's doing this in the kitchen and she tests the garbage disposal and that comes on and we get an audio match cut to the realtor vacuuming after the open house. And she looks at the case and she sees that a spoon is missing. Yes. And she the look on her face is the maddest anybody has ever been.
It's very angry.
Yeah.
Yeah. She put one and one together to get two.
Yeah.
So Jesse, we cut to the go-kart. Jesse's riding around a big track, sadly looking on a go-kart, which doesn't really happen.
No.
In real life.
It's impossible to be sad on a go-kart.
At the very least, you can be concerned. Like, even if you're not like laughing like gleefully.
Whoa.
Yeah, at least you're, hey.
Yeah. It maxes out on whoa. Zoinks.
Zoinks. Wobble wobble. Like, there's a lot you can do on a go-kart, but you don't like cry on one.
Yeah. And then, like, this has a bunch of like jump cuts to it too, as he's going around, just the, kind of looking a little bit dead inside, just on the edge of sobbing. At one point he shouts. All of this is set to an amazing music drop. This is Fever Ray. If I Had a Heart is the song for this. It is perfect. It is absolutely
it is
perfect.
Good, well chosen.
Yeah,
for this. And he eventually has to go home. He goes home. A guy's walking out with his toaster oven, like, "Hey man, score!" And this the situation has degraded.
Yeah.
This is absolute nightmare town.
Yeah, like, this is Requiem for a Dream shit.
Yes. Trying to imagine anything worse than this.
Yeah.
Like people fighting, people fucking, carving things in the wall, spray painting, stealing.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah. The lights on the stereo system are strobing, so all of it is kind of in this juddery horror kind of cadence, especially with the cuts. The people carving things on the wall is the most menacing thing about this. I don't care about.
I think the angry sex. If I'm just in a room while some people are like angry fucking, and you don't know with all the drugs going on, like the person, the fuckee is being very, very limp during this.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't like any of that.
No.
Like
the carving things into the wall is the most unusual thing about this to me.
It's super weird.
Yeah.
I don't want to be in a room with penetration if I'm not doing it.
Okay. All right.
Like that not to sound like a prude or anything, but like, I don't need that in my life. It's okay. It's weird.
But yeah, this is he is making his house reflect himself, and he just sits back on the futon, pulls a big lungful of smoke, and then just gives a big relaxed sigh on the exhale. Like it's
distracting.
Yes.
It's what he wants. He's watching the show instead of thinking the thoughts.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to introduce him to Duckfeed.tv. You can listen to podcasts instead of thinking the thoughts.
New podcast every day.
Yeah. So Marie goes to another open house, complimenting the European feel, like, oh, I've been in Europe for a long time. I used to live in London. Oh, where? I used to live in London. Oh,
downtown.
Downtown. but we traveled a lot, like downtown here.
Yeah.
And then the realtor, the angriest realtor who's ever been, is staring.
Yeah.
As Marie tells a different story.
Mm-hmm. Staring from the background out of focus. You can tell it's her.
Yes. Like Slender Man. It's so good.
Cut to Marie, kind of very quickly rushing, walking out of the house. And the realtor follows her to confront her, saying, "Hey, I've already called the police. You're not going anywhere." And Marie activates, indignant mode.
Yes,
saying,
the same thing she did when she was caught before.
Yes,
in the first season.
You don't want to mess with me. My husband is DEA. She calls the realtor fat. She's just completely lashing out.
Yeah, you just bought it, and this escalates into a fight. The realtor's trying to hold her there, and grabs her purse. Marie's purse rips, and a bunch of booty falls to the ground, including, when I talk about this big magpie behavior, she stole a framed photo of the couple.
Yes,
which is not something that you have use for.
No,
as a thing, like, that's not a knickknack you can claim. It's a picture of other people. That's a trophy. It's not a possession.
Yeah.
And Marie loses it. Like, you are in big trouble here. You are she keeps trying to turn it around to intimidate. She has nothing else she can do.
Yeah. Yeah. There's there's no move. And we cut to Hank getting a call. Marie's been taken in, and he is just furious. He can barely get words out. Are you seriously doing this to me again? And then softens when he hears her crying. Yeah.
He's going to pull some strings.
Yes.
We cut over to her in a waiting area, and we have Sergeant Tim Roberts, who we've seen before, I believe. Yeah. Homicide investigator. He's going to be a minor part of the season. Secures her release. He convinced the homeowners not to press charges.
And Marie says, "Good, neither will I." Okay, trying to keep it up. And this is heartbreaking.
It's really good.
When Roberts asks, like, "So are you ready to go home?" Marie just doesn't respond. She's not responsive, just sitting there with a 1,000-yard stare, and then just starts ugly crying, right? Like, she can't face being in her own home.
Yeah, obvious parallels to what Jesse's going through.
Yes.
So Skylar is at home doing the dishes, and she notices some suds in the drain, and then a big cartoon light bulb pops over her head. So she grabs Saul's number, gives him a call, and then we cut to the scene where an environmental inspector, Bill Burr, is testing the soil, talking to Bogdan, basically telling him, the wastewater and soil are all contaminated with illegal chemicals.
Yeah. Yeah. And Bogdan's wondering, like, okay, so you're a new guy. Have you talked to Gary? Gary will back me up. My soap is very clean. And then, can you? Can you back him up?
I do.
Okay, cool.
I love Bogdan. Bogdan's great. He's there, and Bill Burr counters, "Well, it's not your soap. It's your filtration system.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to replace the whole thing. It's going to cost about $200,000. You'll be out for no more than like 5 weeks. I can give you a list of approved vendors if you like. The ultimate consolation."
Yeah. Bogdan's like, "No, I can't do that. It'll ruin me. I can give you a list of approved vendors."
I love to go to funerals and offer widows list of approved vendors. It is the ultimate consolation.
Doesn't matter for what.
No, just vendors. I love them as long as they're approved. It's like how I love my serotonin in reuptake being inhibited as long as it's selective.
At some point, Kubi has kind of turned his head a little bit. We see he has a Bluetooth earpiece in. He's getting lines from Mission Command. Skylar is nearby in the car with Holly in the back. I love Holly just being present for all of this.
I feel like what that's trying to communicate to me is a little bit of shade.
Yeah.
Like the fact that Holly, obviously you're not going to leave your baby behind.
Yeah, yeah.
But the fact that she goes off and does all these like shadow runs and brings her baby. I think this is meant to be casting some shadow in the turn to relatively dark Skylar.
Yes.
Not relative to the other characters in the show, relative to early Skylar.
Yes. Yeah.
Bogdan demands, like, what laws specifically have I broken?
Yeah.
And and Kubi's stuck.
Could be stuck
at first.
And he stalls for time as Skylar goes through her copious number of binders, and we see Bill Burr like cite chapter and verse on these laws, and then says, satisfied? Was that specific enough for you? Yeah. Like, so
getting revenge by proxy.
So this is fraud. Right. This is compelling Bogdan to sell something that he would not sell. I believe that they still pay him the offer. What they offered.
They pay him the low amount.
Yeah.
They lowball him a little bit from where it was before.
Yes.
It happens in the
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Still, that's good. He does get money.
He does.
And it's fine. They get a car wash. I never realized before this watch that I'm not that invested in the car wash plot.
No.
This is the scene I remember from it.
Mm-hmm.
The fraud. But like it takes up more Skylar character energy space than I remembered.
Yeah, there's a lot of business around it.
There's a lot of business around it. And like it's cool that they have it. It makes sense. I buy the argument they need it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not as interested in it. It's weird that it took this many episodes to get there and stuff.
So Hank has reached the lowest possible point one can, which is watching bowling on television.
The most boring of sports. And he is not, him and Marie have not made up.
No.
Marie comes in, takes the tray, like, you barely eaten. He's like, I'm not hungry. She leaves the pudding and he goes, I'm not hungry. And she goes, don't eat it.
Mm-hmm.
And just like walks out. Like she's pissed.
Yeah.
Something is broken on her end as well.
Yes. And the doorbell rings. Roberts, who had gotten Marie out of custody, has showed up. And, he's from APD, right? He's here for Hank, and Marie brings him in, and Hank gives just a little bit of a jab. This is a joke, but also a snipe, saying, geez, what now? She rob a bank, and this pisses Marie off, and she scoots.
I mean, it rightfully pisses her off.
Yeah.
And he's like, what can I do you for, brother? Like turns on his Guy Fieri mode.
Mm-hmm.
And, thanks for your help. This has been really hard on Marie. And Robert's is like, no, it's okay. It's no problem. So you're collecting these rocks here.
Minerals, actually.
Minerals, and you catalog them and number them. It's actually a lot of work. Very sad. Very like, would a depressed person do this? And Robert says, like, I'm actually here for a case. I wonder if I could pick your brain.
Mm-hmm.
You're plugged into this meth stuff. Have you ever heard of this Gail Bedecker character?
Yeah.
And he brings the notebook, and Hank sees through it immediately.
Yeah.
Right? Like, oh, you're just doing this for charity to try to give me something to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you want this solved, you give this to Steve Gomez.
Yeah.
And Roberts points out, like, then it becomes a DA case, and that does me no good.
Right.
Would you just look at this and see if I have like a meth angle on this? And he leaves the notebook.
Yeah.
With him.
And Hank doesn't bite it first. He just puts the bowling back on. He's, not going to be ready for this until the end of the episode.
One thing that I love is he's going to bite. He's going to look at the notebook, but he's not going to bite in a way that like turns him back on until Walt basically, taunts him into doing it.
Yeah.
This idea that Walt turns him back on, which as both a self-destructive thing and as kind of a service.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it gives Hank a reason to live.
Yeah.
It pulls Hank out of this. It gets him walking again.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also, it's a really nuanced thing that happens.
Yes.
With him, that relationship of him doing him a weird invisible kindness / self-violence is really cool.
Yeah. Oh, there's hubris in there too. Yeah.
There's what?
There's
there's absolutely, of course, it's not motivated altruistically.
Right. Yeah.
It's just what it did.
Yes.
He's not doing it because he thinks Hank will. Don't get twisted.
Okay.
I'm not saying he's doing it as a nice thing.
Yeah.
It just happens to fix Hank.
Mm-hmm.
Even though it does ultimately get him killed, it brings him out of this.
Yes.
It's like it more or less saves his and Marie's relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just very nuanced, the unintended consequence.
Yeah. It can go unsaid that anything with Walt involves hubris. But I just wanted to underline that as well. And we'll talk about it more depth when it gets there. Yeah.
Yeah. A couple episodes from now.
Yeah.
So Walt's at the house with Skylar saying, like, and Bogdan hasn't called. Listen, it was a good try. It was a really good idea. But we have to move on to something different. And Skylar's like, no, we have to keep waiting.
Yeah. And as Walt is trying to convince her to buy the nail salon, the phone rings. Yeah. It's the call she's been waiting for. It's Bogdan. And, so they're like, okay, all right, well, it's good you want to sell, but the price has gone down.
Yep. I've done some research.
Yeah.
She had thrown an extra $50K on there. She's taken the extra $50K away.
Yes.
And she, Bogdan yells and she hangs up, and Walt's like, what the hell? We had it. What are you doing? She goes, I'm negotiating. Why? Because I want to pay less. And he says, do you have any idea how much I make in a month? Like, that's ridiculous. And she says, no, the story, we have to be shown to negotiate because it'd be suspicious if we wouldn't.
Yeah. She's getting to have everything she wants with this.
Yes.
She's getting the fuck you to Bogdan, but also you're getting plausible deniability, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
She cares more about the fuck you to Bogdan than the other thing. She's doing Walt behavior here. She's justifying a personal want via strategic need.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Walt says we should move on, and it's like, hey, I'm gonna give Saul a call. And Skylar looks at the phone, just willing it to happen, and it rings. Walt tries to grab the phone first, but Skylar, stops him, saying like, no, we can't be desperate. 4 rings, and then she picks up. Yeah.
Yep. Picks it up. So Jesse is throwing wadded up pieces of paper in the mouth of a sleeping pantsless fat guy wearing a business suit, who I kept thinking he was going to choke on that paper.
Oh yeah.
They're not. It's not paper. I think it's dollars.
No, it's dollars. I do not.
Yeah, it's money.
I do not want a dollar bill in my mouth. That is probably one of the things I want in my mouth least.
Killing this guy.
Yeah.
And there's a guy, I like this performance a lot, who's ranting about zombies and being trampled.
Yeah.
This guy is horrible to listen to. This guy activates my like flight or punch thing. I find this cadence exceedingly annoying.
Yeah.
If you've ever been around a drug guy who talks like this, it's intolerable.
Oh, it's awful. Yeah.
Yeah.
It is it is monotone and breathless without being rushed. Right?
Yeah.
Like there's no distinction between where a sentence begins or when it ends. And it is both repetitive and stream of consciousness as he's talking about, like, imagine, zombies rushing at this fence, and then just being pressed through it like Play-Doh or some kind of soft meat, and then repeats soft meat.
Yeah.
And
horrible.
Yeah. And all of this soundtrack to just this low throbbing hum. Like this is basically just the bass tester that is playing here. It's not even music. It is just frequency.
Yep. He makes the shot. So we get a yeah, bitch, which we haven't had in a while. A moment of happiness, having done it. And then he's like, who wants money, and throws a bunch of money in the air. Everyone goes nuts rushing for it.
Yeah.
And we see that he's being staked out. Tyrus is watching.
Yeah.
This is bad behavior.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to come to a head next episode.
Yes. To celebrate, Walt pops open a bottle of champagne because they closed the deal on the car wash. Gives a toast to clean cars and clean money. Right?
Yep. And he jokes, I told you we'd get it. And she looks at him.
Yeah.
He's like, no, this is actually really good work. It was smart. I admire the strategy.
Yeah.
Good on Saul for finally being useful. You have to give him some credit, even though it was your idea.
Yeah. And this is probably the warmest they've been to each other in about a season and a half.
This is going to continue.
Yes.
As she gets more corrupted, they get closer.
Yeah.
To this, like he's not coming up to her level. She's going down to his level.
Yes.
Until they have stuff in common again. Like they have sex this season. Like they're back together kind of.
Yeah.
At some point. She compliments the champagne, and Walt says, well, it should be good at the price. It's, Churchill's favorite champagne, all this stuff. And she's like, how could we have paid that? Like we can't be shown to buy things like this,
Yeah, and just like and Walt misinterprets that, saying like, how'd you pay for it? He's like, well, I've got the money. And then
well, he also said like, I paid cash.
I paid cash. Don't worry. And it's like it's not about it's not about it's not just about the fact that somebody saw you buy it. The clerk, but like, how would we explain this if somebody saw us with it? Right.
Yeah. We have to live the lifestyle.
Yes.
The prestige. We have to be the old man with the fishbowl between his legs all the time.
Yes.
And that only makes sense if you've seen the beginning of Prestige.
Of course. Yeah.
The smallest detail can sink us. A piece of duct tape brought down Nixon.
Yeah.
He goes, fine. She hands the champagne glass back to him and says, hey, well, at least we got to destroy the evidence.
Yeah. Yeah. She doesn't want to ruin the moment, right? She had to get
and also there's no point in getting rid of it now. It's already open.
Yeah.
So Hank's in bed watching a local city council meeting, which is slightly less low than bowling. And that's so boring that he grabs the notebook.
Yes.
He starts flipping through it, kind of putting him on this trail again that he would run him into a dead end that provided him no closure, if not for Walt's actions later.
Yeah.
But we're like, oh shit, he's going to find, a little drawing of Walt and Gail with a smiley face, and a heart between them.
Yeah. And that's the episode. This is one that definitely rose in my estimation. I remember watching this and being just a little bit disappointed back in the time, but I appreciate the centering of Marie in this. She should get to have her, at least one episode dedicated. And I think Betsy Brandt is more than up for it here. And, good, fun Skylar Walt moments as well.
Yeah. The setup episodes for me land a little bit better on this watch because I know what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Like knowing what they're setting up.
Yes.
Right. Something that I'm looking forward to rewatching Better Call Saul with that in mind, given that I am still kind of on the record of season 1 of that show being too slow.
Yeah.
And feeling like it is just nonstop setup and just set up for a long time.
Yeah.
I wonder if I'll have that same opinion. Like knowing where that ends actually improves the experience rather than being surprised.
Yes.
So I'll be curious if that's my experience there.
Yeah. At least in talking about it, especially, kind of being fresh off the heels of talking about Breaking Bad, the act of talking about it, we're going to be able to like draw connections and spot foreshadowing and stuff, which is going to bring, that is different than the first time you watch it, obviously. But it is
brings a different interest.
Yeah.
It's why it's worth rewatching stuff.
Yes.
It's always wild to me when I think there are people who don't rewatch things.
Yeah.
Just as principle, or replay things or reread things. And I always find that a little bit strange. Like I kind of get it. And I feel a guilt about how much I will rewatch certain things.
Yeah.
Like every Simpsons episode that I've seen 20 times, that I will still watch. That doesn't necessarily feel like the best use of my time. But I do on like a second or third rewatch of things that are at least a little bit rich. I always get new stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Like always, I'm not the same, so it makes a big difference to me.
Yeah.
It's not a mindset I really understand.
No, the majority of my watching is rewatching. When I was eating lunch before recording here, I was halfway through the Mountains of Madness episode of The Simpsons, right?
Yeah. Me and Liv just rewatched that. It's a perfect episode.
It's so good.
I could watch an entire series of Burns and Homer just hanging out.
Oh yeah.
Just kind of making small talk. It's really good. There's something wrong with its brakes.
Oh, God.
Thanks everybody for listening. What can they do, Cole?
Well, if you want to support this show and a network of many shows like it, you can go to patreon.com/Duckfeed.tv. There you can throw us a few bucks a month and get a bunch of bonus content.
Yeah, we would appreciate that. You can also tell your friends. You can leave ratings, reviews on Apple Podcasts, Podcast Addict. You can post about us on internet. And you can join us in thanking our producer, Gwen, who also composed the theme song.
Thank you so much, Gwen.
Yeah. And until next time, don't. It's okay if you let people fuck in your house.
Yeah.
If you're cool with it. Just make sure everything's above board.
Yeah.
Sex work is work. I don't think that's what's happening at Jesse's house.
No.